quads depending on things like UVs and material indexes. Basically, it's more options to a tool that doesn't have much options before. And this is something that's happening in Blender a lot. There are a lot more options than there used to be. And the original Blender workflow didn't really involve that many options. So what people have been doing so far when they add more options to Blender is something like this. This is a real-world, or a semi-real-world example of something that I had to do before. And I was using this nice select linked flat faces tool. Now, how it works is that it presents an option before you use the tool. And I've got this min angle. I've got no idea what this angle is actually representing. I'll just try it. Nope, selecting everything. The idea of this tool is that it selects faces that are sort of linked together in the side. Okay, so that didn't work. Let's try it again. Let's try a bit less. No, that doesn't work either. Let's just try it again and try a little bit more this time and etc. And oh, that's not working either. So pretty much all the new tools coming in Blender are just popping up options beforehand, and that's no good because you can't see what you're doing. It makes you just trial and error all the time, and it's not very fun. So it would be nice if, I don't know how it would actually work in Blender because it doesn't have any sort of construction history or whatever right now, but the options need to come after the tool is invoked, and it needs to be visible and updating on the screen. And I'm sure a lot of other applications work this way, including that really nice G-Sculpt that was just shown a minute ago. But this is just a video from Modo, and it's completely simple how you can see how it works there. It's just using a bridge tool. So they do the bridge, and then when they change the options down there, you can actually see what it's doing. And so they're just having to guess what these magic numbers are and hoping that you've actually picked the right thing before you go back and undo and try it all again. The reason why this is important, of course, other than what you can see right there, is that if Blender is an artist program, things need to be done visually. And things like minimum angles, 125 degrees, it's completely arbitrary. I don't care about numbers, I care about the visual result. And I need to be able to see what it's doing. One second. The other thing too is that what I find about part of the artistry in this sort of work is being able to tweak things and experiment. And if you're required to know exactly what you need before you actually invoke a tool, it doesn't really lend itself to experimentation. You're just saying, oh, a little bit here, a little bit there, and oh, that looks nice, I'll just leave it like that.
Well, what you showed was exactly what you can do with construction history. Because probably the interface allows you to redo the last action all the time. So all the settings involved with that specific action can be edited. And it can be done for even anything like rotate. You rotate something, and then you can see the information of the tool, and then you can change that still, and then you can tweak that rotation. And then you go to the next, etc. It's a very nice workflow, I agree.
It could even, it could even work in Blender without a construction history, just in a crude way that it shows you the options for the last tool you've used. One more thing before I get to Samo. The other advantage of something like that too is that tools can be simplified. Right now we have, if you press Shift-G on the mesh, you've got all of these selecting similar things. So select similar area, similar perimeter, similar normal, etc., etc. It might be nice if there was an option just select similar, and it may have some default settings like it's selecting things based on a similar area and whatsoever. So most of the time, if you wanted, you could just do select similar, and it gets pretty much what you want most of the time. If you wanted to, you could go to the buttons panel and then select on, well, I also want it to select it with a similar normal, or I also want it to select it like that. But it's removing these steps from the start, so it's just one command, and then if you want to do more complicated things, you have the ability to do that, but you don't have to do it always. Summer?
I think the problem is that basically Blender started as a software 10 years ago when OpenGL wasn't as fast. And texturing, for example, that's what Yuri said with the empties. You could also use an empty to just place a UV face into 3D view, and that would be a huge assistance for the artist to place textures. You could also use a cube or whatever, but that's stuff that has to be done in the viewport. It has to be interactive. in order to work well. I've had my problems with the numbers many times before, for example, with subdivision and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it would be time to start moving the tools around a bit and go away from the buttons and do more in the 3D view itself.
Even so, sorry.
Yep.
Even so, I'd like to see things happening in the 3D view as well, but not everything can be done as a manipulator. And in those sorts of cases, I'd like to at least, if I must use a button, I would like to actually see what it's doing while I'm doing it instead of beforehand or afterwards. So, yeah.
Overlapping interface.
Well, I don't know.
If you have a lot of time, yes, sure, of course. You can, well, you can do undo all the time until you get the numbers right. Technically. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the idea.
He was saying that perhaps it could be implemented by when you change a setting, it does undo and then reapplies it or something like that. Yeah, but anyway. Up the back.
Like, at the moment, the fly view goes through a loop all the time as you're moving around in fly view. And could you not have the same thing if you want to change a setting, like while you're viewing it happen, you just have another loop, goes into that loop, and you change the settings, and then it updates itself.
Those I personally find those sorts of sub-loop tools very annoying because it restricts you from doing anything else. Just like when you're doing a knife tool or a loop cut, you're not able to access buttons in the panels to control things. You can't easily switch to something else. I prefer to see something that works in a more modeless fashion. So anyway, that's just my little rant. So.
I think there was, there.